dialogue, which will concern the role of cities for fair food systems. I will be the moderator for this short time. My name is Annalisa Boni. I am Secretary General of Eurocities, which is the biggest and most important European network which reunites 200 municipalities which work together and together with the European institutions to improve the life in urban and metropolitan areas. It's an exchange of experiences on issues regarding citizens, such as food, and a dialogue together with the institutions like the Parliament, the European Parliament, from which we have an important person here with us today. The dialogue will be in Italian, but for everyone who wants to have a translation, you can select the globe interpretation in the right corner and select English to have the translation. And if you want to hear the dialogue in Italian, you have to select the Korean. You can ask your questions in the chat, and we will pick one at the end. Unfortunately, we only have half an hour. These are the rules. So this breakfast dialogue is part of the Food Trails project. I'm very proud to be part of it because it's the result of a very intense collaboration that's been carried out for many years and that focuses on food and diet. We've been working on this issue for a few years now because we think it's important to support our cities in the many transitions they have to face every day towards a better sustainability. And I'm referring to social, environmental, and governance sustainability, the effort to put citizens at the center of political actions and to try and become more resilient. This pandemic has made resilience even more needed and important, and food and diet are at the basis of these issues. Now I give the floor to Andrea Margarini, the Food Trails Coordinator, of which the Municipality of Milan is chair. So Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annalisa. Welcome, everyone. Food Trails is a research project financed by Horizon 2020, and it will be active for the next 4 years. It has a partnership of 19 actors all over Europe, universities, foundations, associations, and also 11 middle and major cities. Because the main thing is designing 11 food policies in these cities. That is why they're so important. We have an ambition to design the food policies for the next generation, but we won't be doing it alone because every city will activate its living lab, a lab that will engage citizens, universities, private associations, and stakeholders that want to work with cities to develop these food policies and pilot actions financed by the project. We want to promote urban agriculture, school catering, and we want to reduce food waste, among other things. We also want to design economic sustainability of the system with impact financing, because active cities with food policies can also monitor the impact of their actions. Like Annalisa said, this is the result of the work of Eurocities Working Group Food and also the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. And we will try to show how cities are ready to collaborate with European actors for sustainable systems. We will start with 2 important guests, and I wish you a good breakfast dialogue.
Thank you very much. The worst part of these online breakfast dialogue is that there is no possibility to take a coffee together like we used to in old times. So we have 2 exceptional guests regarding food systems, so they are very fit for today's dialogue. We'll have a look at how to create a food system that can benefit everyone, from producer to retailers and the whole chain, and make food available to everyone, and make a system that is good under both points of view regarding supply and demand. A few introductory words regarding the speakers. Anna Scavuzzo is Vice-Mayor of Milan, and since 2017 she's delegated for food policy. Milan is very ahead regarding these issues with its governance of food policy, both locally and internationally. It was Milan who proposed the Food Pact in many European and world cities. And then we have the Member of Parliament Herbert Dorfmann for South Tyrol. He had many mandates regarding agriculture and other fields. He is an expert and he is now Member of Parliament. He has been since 2019 member of the Agri Committee, and now he is the rapporteur in charge of the European Parliament report on the Farm to Fork strategy. Now, I'd like to give a couple of minutes to each of you for our first answer. I might start from the Vice Mayor, maybe Anna. The pandemic has highlighted the fragility of food systems, especially in Milan. There was a need of providing big amounts of food to many people and to do it fast and quickly. So food was really seen as a right. How are cities bringing forward the right to food for everyone, both in emergency situations and to counter poverty? And what do cities need to continue this work? Thank you, Annalisa. Yes, the pandemic definitely showed the need to action, and it was a shock because we didn't imagine to find such need and desperation in people. The cities that could rely on relations on the whole food chains reacted more swiftly, while there were problems in cities that lacked a network and that only had a third sector network, but without companies or relations with social realities and associations. Cities such as Milan, and not only because we've been working together with the working group of Eurocities and the networks of cities of the Milan Food Policy Pact, to create an alliance from the beginning and to share the best practices in order to create a common rule book for solutions that were needed in the short time. What the city and the cities managed to do was to translate into actions and fundings the guidelines coming from regions and the governments, and to translate into action those relations, systemic relations that I was talking about. We have created shopping vouchers, food system aids. We have provided meals to people, and we have also taken care of the quality of the food. And we tried to make sure that even poor people could afford and have access to good food, which is fundamental, especially for children. Cities also had the possibility to translate proposals into actions quickly in a reasonable way. And so the collaboration among cities, I think it is an example of how we can implement a top-down strategy, but also how we can collaborate with leadership, but essentially with a community-based approach. During the first part of lockdown, we struggled, especially in the third sector, who had no volunteers or employees, because especially in the first part of the pandemic, people couldn't go out, so it was hard to find staff. The municipality and the cities contributed to keeping the level of response high. We became actors of civil protection, and we managed to overcome the first part of the lockdown and of the crisis. And I think that this really represents what can happen when a food policy starts to take shape.
Thank you. So resilience is also about quality and governance, and working with cities enables us to um, have a great impact on the life of citizens. Thank you. I would like to give to talk to the MEP. We have talked about the role of cities and how they're working in Europe to give the population access to a sustainable food system. According to you, is the current strategy, farm to fork, is it ambitious enough to contribute to the action of these cities? And can it really help to recognize food as a right for all? Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. We are currently working a lot on this farm to fork strategy in the European Parliament. I think that the actions that Milan has taken on different aspects, on a social aspect that the deputy mayor has just described, I think that this farm to fork strategy has had an impact on a social level for the amount of accessible food and to be able to give food to everybody. Because this is something that is the local authorities' responsibility, as we have said. The farm to fork strategy is more about quality of the food that we give. And here the municipality has described it very well in its document. It has a lot of opportunities, school canteens, for example, policies in schools, universities, hospitals. All those places where we can certainly improve and give a healthier diet that doesn't necessarily need to cost more, because many people do not um, have enough finances to eat well. We think that we can do more without spending more. And I'm also in favor of the fact that in combination with farm to fork strategy, there's also an European program to accompany cities and municipalities. We have ONCI program for fruits and vegetables in schools. Why not make another program for municipalities that can implement it in their canteens? The food system is linked with social aspects because working to give food to everyone that has a right to it before the food is wasted is fundamental for cities. And cities can work to use all the products they have and give it to the population. It is a great opportunity for the municipality of Milan that has excellency in schools as regards food, and also for public research, university is great to bring a higher quality in food, also in the research sector and in universities.
Thank you very much.
Programma europeo per aiutare i comuni.
So how to do best without spending more. Sorry, there is a connection problem.
Passiamo direttamente di nuovo alla vice sindaca. Appunto, la città di Milano ha sviluppato una strategia alimentare ambiziosa. Ne parlava prima, creata con il coinvolgimento di più di 1000 stakeholders.
The city of Milan has developed an ambitious food system with more than 1,000 stakeholders, from producers to consumers. And Milan is trying to engage producers, create short supply chains, and give value to the CAP principles. But it seems a real effort. So what can you say about it? Our experience is positive. It takes a lot of work, but these stakeholders are part of the food system. And I think it's important to give importance to that food system. And I was referring to entrepreneurs, families, universities, school caterings, producers, and retailers. The goal is to create a city policy, and I'm talking about a metropolitan policy, because we need to see our cities under a wider point of view, which allows to create mechanisms of consumption and production that give benefits to producers. If I think about the Measure 16 and the relations with the European Union, we definitely managed to develop furtherly this project. The Mater Alimenta Urbis project had this goal, which was to put producers and consumers on the same level so that they could communicate. I don't think that we need to impose distance between them, but rather learn how to narrate a good production and how much well-being good food can bring, based on all those cares of production that are strategic for us. Procurement is an issue, as well as the narration regarding food systems. A meal has to be good, fair, and right. These measures need to be narrated and described because the community needs to be aware of it. What we are trying to do, and I am representative of our work regarding the capacity building and development of projects, we are trying to enforce this ability to translate projects into actions and to create partnerships instead of borders and limits among stakeholders, hoping that we can really have a quality that leads the European Commission to invest in cities, both in the Eurocities network, which involves 51 cities that are part of the Working Food Group, more than 200 cities among the MUFPP. And these are instruments to propose tools and to dialogue actively with the European Union, the Commission, so that the institution can see us as stakeholders to reach the goals of the CAP without changing them. I believe that without citizens, without families and the community, we will never reach any goals. So I think it's fundamental to engage communities. The cities are ready, and maybe, and this is my invitation, we are trying to understand how, according to the Commission, we can really be entitled to cooperate positively with accessibility, with reputation, the experiences that we can improve in our day-to-day life and that can be useful to truly reach our goals. I think that together we can do best and we can reach more ambitious goals. Consumers will be happy, as well as producers, companies, and the farm system, which is very community-based, and I think everyone knows it now.
E cosa ne pensa, onorevole, di
Thank
questa?
you, Deputy Mayor. And what does the EMP think? What do you think? In this economy, we see it clearly. How can we look at the future of the farm to fork strategy and of the CAP in sustaining cities on this journey that are trying to do both things at the same time? Also, the relationship from rural and urban cities. What can the CAP and the farm to fork strategy do for cities? Because this is a common journey. I think that the most important thing is what cities can do, because the farm to fork strategy is not a strategy of Brussels, but also food policy strategies all over Europe. And in the last few years and decades, I think we have seen a distancing also of ideas between urban and rural cities. 2/3 of the European population now lives in cities. And sometimes people do not realize how important technology is, and also for our food policies and systems. This continent and this European Union needs 400 million eggs, and all of these eggs cannot be produced in just one place. And our agriculture is also vulnerable to unjust policies that can be improved, but sometimes we have a lack of knowledge from the population, from the citizens, for what is happening in rural areas, because the generations that came before had a link with rural areas, but now it is different. I think it is important to reconnect. All the activities that cities carry out in this sense is something good. For example, the chains in little markets in minor cities, they can sell some farmers' products, but the most important thing is that the citizens see the farmer in the city and the world of agriculture in the city. In my opinion, this distancing, this gap in relationship, this difficult relationship between agriculture on the one hand and the CAP that says that the city does not understand us, but also for the city it is the same thing, something needs to change. On this point, the farm to fork strategy is fundamental. It is very important if we want to change European food systems, also for consumers, because in the end, it is the consumers that buy the products, and they are the ones who decide on the food system, as regards the food system. If the population realizes that we need to change, then the system can be changed, because the farmers produce what the consumers want to buy. Yes, the topic of this dialogue is justice, everything we have listened to and just said. This dialogue is also connected to a different vision of agriculture as a professional activity. It is new, a different way of looking at agriculture. Deputy Mayor, what do you think?
I think that this link is more effective if it is circular. Think about the positive effects of a fund to agriculture and farmers who right now are making a part of their production available in the um, in the hope of bringing schools to see how a farm works. And just one funding has created new links into a whole sector. We are working with the fruit and vegetable market, which is very important in our city, because making those widespread distribution chains, and it's not just about the consumer going to small markets. I think it's important to work on different scales. Cities don't just have small chances to bring agriculture to people. These appointments are important and need to be done well, but we also need to have relations with big players. Throughout the pandemic, we've been working with big supermarkets and retailers, as well as the small distribution and the last part of the supply chain. I think that this is an important element that might come from cities. A high level dimension, as well as the ability to communicate with people on a day-to-day basis. This attitude needs to be upgraded because it's the weak spot right now. We have to translate the importance of this ambition into action. And once we reach these goals, the number of people with which who will participate will be much bigger.
Thank you. Mr. Dorfmann, do you think that cities could change their behavior and urban food policies can be a means in the sense to lead the consumers towards a more conscious relationship with agriculture and farmers? Yes, absolutely. I think that consumers today are also ready to accept innovation and changes in their dietary behaviors. The pandemic has also helped in some aspects. We are more conscious of the quality of our food today than we were 18 months ago. And I think that all the initiatives that are being implemented by cities and municipalities and big cities like Milan, they meet the interests of a group of consumers. This group now, we need to look at the facts. This group is not very large. We still have a lot of consumers that, because they want to continue like they were, or because they don't have the right purchasing power, they need to look at the cheapest food they have. And we have to take into account that not all consumers can afford of high quality food, which is obviously less cheap. For these groups, we need to find a way to communicate with them and tell them that a more balanced diet doesn't necessarily have to cost more. And these groups, I'm sorry, in supermarkets, they find produced foods that cost less. And here we see the importance of cuisine, of being able to prepare healthy food. There's also a question of knowledge, of education. In schools, we teach everything we can think about to our students. But the issue of a healthy diet isn't taught as much. isn't such an important topic, and I think this is a shame. Yes, I think that this is very important, also at European level. Unfortunately, we have come to an end. I think that there will be some game changers, and these will have impacts on national policies and local policies. So let's keep in contact, European parliaments and cities, and let's try to make this partnership effective for everyone. So if you want, we can continue. MEP, I would like to thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you to the participants that have sent lots of questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer now, but we will do so with emails and etc. And also thank you to the Altiero Spinelli School. And I hope that you all will continue to follow our activities on the Full Trails project. And because we are doing very innovative, we're taking very innovative actions at regional level, local level, national level, and everyone can take inspiration from this. We will say goodbye for now, but we will see each other in the next breakfast dialogues that will take place the 5th and 6th of May on another channel, but at the same time. Thank you very much. We have sent the website of our project, and see you soon. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. See you soon.